This is Coder Radio, episode 235 for December 12th, 2016. Hi everyone, and welcome to Coder Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode's brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week, I think maybe chasing ambulances? I'm not quite sure. Maybe we'll get the details on that. Well, yes, it's Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike!
Chris, you could be entitled to compensation.
Right on. I could be. I mean, I haven't been injured in a car accident yet, but I could arrange that. Stat. You can give me a big deal.
You were bitten by a trouser snake. Oh, jeez.
Oh, yikes, Mr. Dominic. Guess what? We made it to 235. Can you believe that? We're doing good, too. Have we missed a week? Maybe 1 week, but then we made it up like on a Friday? I mean,
yeah,
maybe one or something.
When I got married or my son was born, I think is when we missed a week.
Or that time you changed your identity to hide from the IRS for a week. There was that, too. But then we just had that other Mike fill in to throw everybody off.
Everybody loves Miguel Domingo.
Yeah, except for he was a big PHP guy, and I think some of the long-timers caught on to that.
You know what, Chris? I am hiring for PHP right now.
Are you? I thought you were hiring for Ruby, I thought. I can't keep it straight anymore.
Right, so I got the Ruby guy. Right now I'm hiring for PHP.
Okay.
Possibly some ASP, and, of course, everybody's favorite platform, Android.
Monster. So this sounds like a nice opportunity for somebody out there that wants to stretch their legs and help Mike avoid doing PHP development work.
And you can be I'm about to say I was wrong, Chris.
What? Whoa, hold on. I don't believe you. I don't have.
You need a soundbite.
I need something for that.
Are you going to record this?
What? Okay.
Just stroke it a little.
That's not the right soundbite, but that's my favorite one. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm trying to do my best Bill Clinton. I don't think I can. I'm not even going to try to do Bill Clinton. Well, you know I'm all about the on-site location thing, right? That is just not worth it. So all of these positions are 100%, dare I say, hugely remote.
See, I think this is so smart. I think you got to do this. You got to do this. As somebody who totally agrees that having people in person is so awesome, because some of the best stuff that happens is just when Rika and I are walking past each other in the hallway here at the studio. It's like just random stuff that we stay up to date on because we're just in the same space. But the flexibility and the reach you get is just incomparable when somebody can work remotely and you have tools like Slack and Telegram and IRC and Google Docs and Dropbox and GitHub and all of these tools that make it so easy to work remotely together.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, if you just have like an online ticketing system or something like that they can log into. So why the change? Just been too hard to find somebody local, or what's up?
So
I mean, you were all Marissa Meyer on this, like, big time.
I was Marissa Meyer on this, but kind of in secret. I had lightened up on it about 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah, I know. And we've had a few remote guys, kind of, part-time, contracty sort of situation.
Man, you're gonna make me like I've been doubling down on this ever since you've been doubling down on this because I'm like, yeah, Mike's got some good points. Local is better. And I've been all like, we gotta get a local guy. We gotta get local.
So okay, so hear me out. Here's what was starting to happen. I would post like a job for like a Java developer, right? And I would get, 30, 40 resumes, local resumes, but there was all, we're a small shop. We want a good pool of talent and we do have a budget, right? So we're not exactly, I was going to say Donald Trump, but that's just, you can't say that for a rich guy anymore because it means so many other things now. We're not looking to, these aren't junior roles, right? We're looking for like intermediate to senior people. We're not looking to take someone out of, junior college or trade school or college and train them up. This is, you want the job, you get paid by the hour, you do the work immediately, right? There's no, this isn't this is your first job and we're going to take you for pizza. This is not that kind of thing. And unfortunately, I think this is the model that works better. And I say unfortunately, like, I don't think it's that bad, because interviewing college kids makes me want to cry.
Yeah, that's been rough.
It's been not fun. And it's basically a waste of time.
Here's what I think the advantage, too, to remote is, and I don't know how you feel about this, but when you hire somebody remotely, there's the possibility. Now, this totally varies on depending on how much work you have for the individual, but let's say you don't have 40 hours a week of work for them.
Right.
For them, there is an advantage because now you could be maybe one of two jobs they're working. I know a guy that does this, and he drives around the U.S. full time in his RV, and he just has one or two clients at a time for doing web development. And I believe it's all PHP work too, actually. And so he essentially works two jobs, but both jobs have about 10 hours of work, which is just about what he wants. So he gets about 20, 25 hours total a week via these two different sources.
Right, and this is exactly how this is, right? This is, hourly work as we have it. Right now we have it. Obviously, you still have to apply with a resume, desired hourly rate.
I think this is the way. I don't mean to be this guy, but I think this is the new economy. I really think there's going to be less and less jobs as things become commoditized or outsourced. And so for me, I mean, this is why I got out of contract consulting to begin with, because I specialized in on-premises servers. And then pretty soon towards the end of it, I was specializing in migrating everything to hosted servers. We didn't quite call it the cloud back then, but we were called hosted services, which is a better term. But anyways, that shift is that is always happening in the technology industry. But if you can diversify your income sources across a couple of different companies, you're in a little bit more control. You're not exactly unemployed. You're not exactly like, taking on tens and tens of clients. You're not doing that. It's more like one or two clients. I work from home. I've got a great setup. I can get a lot of work done here. I got my monitors, my lighting, my keyboard, my chair, everything the way I like it, my speakers, and I can really bang stuff out. And with my friend who just drives around the U.S., he'll do 10 to 25 hours of work a week, and he just knows, well, okay, this week, based on this project, I have this much time for driving. And then when my projects sort of dry up, that's when I do the majority of my traveling. And it totally works for him. He doesn't make a lot of money doing it, but he's also not dependent on any one individual income source, and it's enough for him to pay for gas and food. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I think you really hit it on the head, though. With tools like Jira, with Slack, things like that, it just makes the physical office space make more sense, to the point where I might reduce or cut the office space.
Yeah, that's the other place I was going to go, and that could be huge for the business. We fantasized here at Jupiter Broadcasting about taking our OBS productions and running them on a DigitalOcean droplet, and essentially negating the need for a studio, which is kind of crazy because I fantasized about building my own studio, and then we invested a lot of time. We've been here for a couple of years, and it just works great for what we do. But at the same time, creating content for the internet, and if I want to be more mobile anyways, I don't really need to be tied to a building. And I could save myself some money and put that back into the company. So I've been tempted to do it myself, even though we do high volume, large file size video editing.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a thread going through the very beginning of the show when I was full remote, and then I kind of got the office, and that kind of that worked, and we got this different office, and what I found in this business, right, dev consulting, like being a little dev shop, overhead and like fixed liabilities are one of the number one most damaging things you can have, and things like office space, non-billable hours, they're all pretty terrible. And this model definitely helps you avoid that. And it provides more flexibility to the developers themselves, the workers, because I don't like putting pants on, and I'm told a lot of people don't. In fact, one of the main things I would get when I would post these jobs before was, oh, is this at least partial remote?
Yeah, right. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I wonder, too, if you're not tied to a physical building, then are you less tied to a particular region, and then are you more likely to take on clients that are maybe on the West Coast? Because
regionality has never been a big thing for me. We have certain hubs that we tend to get work from, but that's probably because most of the work is repeat work and referrals. In fact, in 2017 is really when I'm trying to be a little more proactive and do a little more, business development.
You're starting to think about that, huh? Yeah, I have been thinking about that a little bit myself too.
In fact, we have another topic. We could just dive into this. I just got a product called Infusionsoft to do this very thing. So first of all, it's interesting how much big sales tools companies like to make things look like Windows and Microsoft Word in particular.
Yeah.
Like down to the icons.
It's the worst.
Wow. It's pretty bad. It has to be some sort of ASP app. That's all I can think, because these widgets are, but it works, right? I mean, you want your tools to work, and I wasn't about to build a CRM. So. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, I've been thinking about 2017 too. A little bit of business changes. I'll have one less show I'm doing where I'm handing over TechSnap to Wes and Dan from Al and I. We're doing a transition there, which will be good because it'll free me up to work on some more stuff. Which is that time's already before we've even ended the show. Before I've even gotten off the show, I've already budgeted up my time. But I'm hoping that'll make a big difference for 2017 and fitting in with a few other plans that I have. It is the time of year to start thinking about that when you run your own business. Speaking of things, just totally unpredictable when it comes to small businesses. I have heard a lot from the grapevine about Pebble, but this is a real. I mean, I got 2 Pebbles. One was given to me by an audience member, and one that I bought the next generation after that. And my buddy Chase has bought every generation, including the ones they haven't even shipped yet. Pebble Time 2 and Pebble Core, by the way, and the Pebble Time round will never ship.
No.
Yeah, the partly sum is about half of the 70 million that they got, by the way. Fitbit bought them for somewhere between 34 and 40 million. That partly sum is half of the 70 million that Intel offered them in 2016, and a fraction of the 740 million that Citizen offered them in 2015. It's even less than what they raised on Kickstarter. So today, Pebble also confirmed the sales will end on its blog and its Kickstarter page, and warranty for existing wearables will be unavailable. Anyone who's looking to buy bands or chargers for existing watches are being pointed to third-party sources on Amazon or elsewhere, and Fitbit has no interest in offering any kind of service or support for the Pebble products. They're all done.
So it's like a really, really not so big acqui-hire.
Yeah. I have been told, and I have seen via other podcasts based on ex-employees of Pebble, that the company was ran. The reason why they went to Kickstarter for future products is because they had to. They were ran so poorly. It looked like it was probably it was coming. However, Pebble really offered something unique in the wearable space when it came to this e-ink display. 5, 6, 7 days of battery life, depending if you're doing sleep tracking, and decent functionality. Really, I mean, does the fitness tracking? It did the sleep tracking. It had an always-on clock, which the Apple Watch still can't compete with. The display was tiny and it looked kind of old, but they were getting there. And it was nice to see somebody coming at it from the other end and not trying to cram an iPhone into a watch or a Nexus into a watch, but to see somebody create something that was e-ink and built from the ground up to be a watch.
Yeah, I mean, one thing though is this whole wearable space isn't really going anywhere, right? If your name isn't Fitbit, you're basically not making money.
Yeah, and boy, remember the 6-year lead up to the Apple Watch in the rumor mill?
Yeah.
Just this mantra of Apple's got to make a watch, Apple's got to make a watch, Apple's got to make a watch. And then Google launches Android Wear first. And that's not, I mean, I'm watchless again. I've given away my watches to other people. Yeah. They like them, and I'm just, don't bother. Part of it is, Mike, is these things what they're best at is notification triage, and I really hate notifications. I am too ADD, and I lose valuable work in my head when I get an interruption. And I thought I was too much of a precious princess to admit that to myself. Oh, look at me, I have fancy ideas that I don't want to lose. I'm such a princess. You know what? That's so stupid. That is such a stupid, old bro attitude kind of thing that just needs to go away. A lot of my work is cognitive. A lot of what I do is cognitive. And when I am working on something, to lose state based on an interruption about something that doesn't matter via Telegram is costly to me, to my productivity. And so then if I'm not using it for notifications, all the other functionality is kind of secondary or even tertiary. Like the fitness tracking's great on the Apple Watch, but I can go for a walk with my phone and get most of the same features except for heart tracking. So yeah, you're right. I find them to be uncompelling. Didn't you just about like at the beginning of the year or something get the Moto 360 or something?
I did, yeah. And the Fossil Q, I got that as a gift
and
from
neither
a
one
client.
of them have stuck, huh?
No, not really. And the problem is like having to charge a watch. It's just a little too much responsibility for me. And I ended up turning off all the notifications just like you. So honestly, I have a regular Fossil watch that needs a new battery. I'll probably just go back to wearing that.
I do like having the time. And so the always on display was a nice thing of the Pebble that you could kind of get with Android Wear.
A watch.
Or a watch. Yep. Yeah, the main thing I actually used these watches for was voice dictation, and they're not excellent at it. They're not great at it. Oftentimes, the connection's too slow to the phone, and so they can't transfer the speech data. It just falls apart. It seemed to be most reliable on the Apple Watch to me, having tried on 3 Android Wear watches. Pebble didn't have this functionality. But if there is something fantastic about driving when I'm driving, because I drive about 2 hours every day, there is something magical about having a great idea hit me while I'm driving, and with a tiny flick of my wrist, having the watch light up, and I say, hey, watch, add a to-do list, or set a reminder, or email, and it just does it really quickly, and I don't lose the thing. It turns the commute into a semi-productive drive without having to be very distracting while driving or anything like that, because I'm not even really. I have my hands at the like blast your hands in your face with the airbag position on the top of the wheel, and I just twitch my wrist a little bit, and I don't even take my hand off the steering wheel to set a reminder. That was great functionality. The problem is the voice recognition kind of sucks, especially with road noise. So there you go. Pebble shutting down. That is a rough one. And Fitbit making some aggressive, dominating moves in the industry, coming in, cutting throats, and owning that little space. Like an animal, Mike. Like a fox. Hey, let's start talking about your Google Home and Google Actions. Let's take a moment here and thank our first sponsor, and that's Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/coders where you can sign up for a free 7-day trial. This is great, and it's pretty new to Linux Academy, and it's a super nice way for you to get a sense of what the platform offers. There's so much stuff in here for anyone that wants to learn the itty-bitties about Linux, all the way up to the big platform stuff, the big things in the industry that you make money on.
Whether you're an experienced sysadmin or new to the world of Linux, Azure and AWS, OpenStack and DevOps, a sharp skill set is an absolute necessity to succeed. Meet Linux Academy, an online Linux and cloud training platform that uses self-paced video courses and hands-on labs to give you real-world experience for a wide range of skills. Train for your certification, learn the latest DevOps tools, and grow your skill set to do better work. Linux Academy is not just a video library. Our scenario-based server labs and quiz system allow you to learn hands-on. We also have full-time human instructors who answer questions and help you earn that certification or promotion at work. We add new training every week so you'll always be up to date on the latest tech. Sysadmins of every experience level use Linux Academy to stay on the bleeding edge of the Linux ecosystem.
Man, that's
you
true.
should too.
linuxacademy.com/coders. One of the other things that's really nice about Linux Academy, besides instructor mentoring, which is just super unparalleled, is now the public profiles. So you can show and demonstrate to your employer or to your client or to yourself what you've achieved. And their community is great because it's full of Jupiter Broadcasting members. And if you happen to be like a bus commuter or a train commuter, consider their iOS or Android apps too. What a great way to spend that time. linuxacademy.com/coder. Sign up for a free 7-day trial. And a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. Mike, the one thing that might get me to get like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something like that would be if in the springtime I get back into swimming like I keep telling myself I'm going to do, because that is a pretty cool thing to be able to track. Or any kind of thing where you want to do some fitness stuff and you just have goals. It is useful. I did find myself allowing myself to be gamed by the fitness goals. I recognize that, these are arbitrary goals that I've set. but I like completing them. So I will walk instead of drive. It did have a plus. So after after last week's episode, I think we probably sold a few more Google Homes because I got a couple of comments from people that said that, boy, after Mike talked about it, I really kind of wanted one. And I thought, geez, Mike just said he plays poker games with or bar games with it. But now we got a more comprehensive review posted over at DominicM.com.
We do, yeah.
The Google Home review. Tell me, how's it going?
It's going good. More time with it. I've run into a few minor issues in terms of the minor service outages. It would say, please check your network connection, but all the other devices here would work.
Oh, really?
So I'm assuming that was like something on their end. But, I did hit one real obnoxious problem. And that's the problem Google has in Chrome as well, where it does not understand that you may have one person who has a Google Work app, Google Work account, and a Gmail account. And it doesn't get that those are the same person. And that you might, so you know what I'm talking about, right? Apps for business versus...
Oh, of course. Yeah, I have a personal Gmail account, and then I have my Jupiter Broadcasting email hosted there.
Well, the problem, if you think about it, is your Google Music, YouTube Red, all that crap is likely to be on your personal account.
Yep.
But all the calendar, the email, the setting appointments is going to be on your work account.
Yep.
That just doesn't work with Google Home. You have to have one account.
So what are you going to do? Is it worth merging to one hybrid Dominic account?
No, I'm not going to merge. This is an obvious enough of a problem that I feel like we'll have to solve it.
Does it bother you at all that this is still a thing? I mean, it really gets me that Google still sucks at this. A lot of their properties, like YouTube and Google Docs, recognize that I am the same Google user. I've been able to tie all the accounts together, and I can click my stupid face up in the right-hand corner, and it drops down all the other accounts that I have tied in with Google, and I can switch between them.
So I'm a little bit of two minds on it. I understand why some enterprises wouldn't want Google to recognize that like their employees' Google Work account is not, is the same person as, my.lastname@gmail.com. But it really is inconvenient if everything's going to tie into your Google account to have it like this.
What would be nicer is if you could just feed it multiple iCal feeds. Like you like with Alexa, it's not. Alexa is actually ironically a little bit easier to deal with here because Alexa you could just associate it with different feeds, and it would it doesn't have to use all of the Google hooks and it's a little bit more flexible in some sense because it's not associated with Google's ecosystem.
So what I was almost thinking, like there is a Google Home app, that why can't you just go into the app on your phone and just like configure your calendar?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and your email. And then everything else would assume whatever Gmail account the home was set up with, but for the email and calendar. But then it's still screwed up, right? Because like if you're in development and you have, multiple customers, you probably have like 400 Gmail accounts, which is just annoying. So I don't know how Google solves this problem where everybody's happy. I mean, as a user, I just like...
Is this a tool we need, though? Like, so you're using it at your office. Are there elements of it that make you wish you had it at home? Is this a useful tool for the home? Because it is called Google Home, which you didn't make Google work, to be fair.
Yeah. See, I have a kind of weird situation at home where I listen to a lot of music, but I almost never listen to it over the air. Usually I have headphones on or something. And that has everything to do with like having a 7-month-old in the house, right?
So music's probably out.
Right.
What about like queries and things like that?
Again, being quiet is sort of necessary.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not like with the family,
See, what I think I'm trying to suss out is this just the next wearables? Is there actually a market for this?
Oh, no. Yeah. So it could be, but I think if I were like a bachelor or, a bit at an earlier stage of my life, I would use this all the time.
Really?
And I would totally use it at home. Yeah. It would be like I would buy a bunch of Chromecast and it would be my main entertainment hub.
So you get home and you'd address this thing and you'd say fire up YouTube or something and
Whatever, right? Yeah.
yeah, I should play with that. I feel like I am curious. I am considering. To me, this feels like the product category is getting to the point where perhaps I should no longer not have an informed opinion about it. But I'm not. I still don't know if I feel like it's like I'm trying to visualize how I would use it. I could see it at my house, my RV. I would walk in and I'd have it, but I'd want it to be able to turn on my television. Like if I have to get a remote and turn on my TV and my soundbar, anyways.
Well, this is the problem, right? Like the usefulness of any of these products is going to scale with how deeply you are in that platform vendor's ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One issue I'm going to have is I have like 200 movies in iTunes now. That there's no way in hell Google Home is going to be able to fire up for me, Chromecast or no, right? So that's a problem.
Yeah, the other thing that's for me that's awkward is I have an Android TV. I think I have the best one, the NVIDIA Shield TV, which I just think is a great product. And it has a microphone in the remote, and I press it, and I can ask it Google-like queries. I can basically anything you can ask, okay, Google, I can ask it. So
That's interesting.
It's almost like it feels a little redundant, but I like the idea of something I can shout out, hey, add this to my calendar. Set a reminder, set it to do. That kind of stuff is super valuable for me. But I would like them to be able to work in tandem. So then I would want one in the studio so I could say, hey, when I get to the studio's Google Home device, tell me about something. So I could set reminders on different Google Homes or something like that. And then we're cooking with gas. Now I want one at the office and at home. But until these things are there and they're not so locked in and not so limited, I feel like this is kind of actually a lame duck category. Am I just being a curmudgeon? Would you buy it again?
Yeah, I would buy it again. I'm keeping it, right? I'm not going to try to like return it or anything like that.
Okay.
I think you're being a curmudgeon, but you make a fair point in that, and I think you're like dancing around a good point here about a strategy tack because of the platform vendor.
Maybe.
When
that is my go-to.
None of this stuff works together.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have to be honest. The biggest effect of Google Home on my life has made me like not like Siri on my iPhone at all. And I'm in a place where I know Android phones, just I've had reliability problems with them. Mm-hmm. But I really wish I could get like an iPhone with Android OS on it and with all the Google functionality.
You can do hey phone, open the Google app, and then you can do okay Googs, and that chain does work.
Yeah, but it's stupid.
It is stupid. Yeah. So what do you think is so bad about Siri? I mean, not to drag this on because I want to get to actions on the Google Home in a moment, but just curious.
So yeah,
this is the big debate. Siri's fallen so far behind. But before we go there, so chew on that for a second. You mentioned that they're too locked down to their own platforms. I would say the other problem is, even in that context, they're pretty weak. So we're going to speculate here for a moment. But so you just cited the example where you can't have multiple Google accounts, especially the Google Apps accounts. So the most loyal Google customers are essentially punished when they buy a Google Home. Imagine Apple, though. If they shipped Siri home, do you think it'd be able to play movies from multiple iTunes accounts? Well, maybe if you actually had a family, if you use the family share. Actually, Apple would probably... With the family account,
Apple has weird problems with like iCloud keychain and all that kind of functionality. But in terms of like family accounts, Apple gets it.
So what do you think? I can't remember what I was just asking you. There was before I distracted.
The whole Siri falling behind.
Oh yeah. So what is it about it? Yeah. Thank you. I don't want to spend us a ton of time on it, but this is mentioned all the time, and it just feels like it's almost like a go-to talking point. And I actually, having tested the two major things, I have not done Google Assistant, but doing it with Google Now and Siri side by side for the things that I need, I found Siri to be, I just found it to actually have features that Google Now doesn't even have.
See, I found almost the exact opposite. Siri often doesn't. So one thing I find Siri very slow, like extremely for simple stuff like, hey Siri, play Aces High. And it didn't even figure that out, by the way. So, again, it's not sure, like both of them could have done that, but I feel like Siri would do it slower. One big problem I have with Siri, again, but this is a strategy tax thing, is I would actually prefer to use Google Music, but I have to use Apple Music because that's the way things are.
I wonder if that could be changed now in iOS 10. I wonder if Google Music could integrate in with Siri using the API.
I'll check it out. I have not been able to do it.
So I've done some testing with this, and I found that I've done a lot of like, how do they read the results back to you? So I did a lot of testing with, I put my devices on a table across the room from me and tried to get answers without ever looking at my phone to see what if you're using just the voice system, how far can you get? And they both are essentially on pair. But let me just tell you the area that I feel like Siri, that is so damn valuable to me, that I feel like Google now just, and I don't know how Assistant does it, but it's probably similar, just really sucks at, is Siri works so well with geofences and reminders. And I can say, next time I return to this location, remind me. Or next time I go to Safeway next to me, remind me. Or when I get to the studio, remind me. Or when I get home, being able to just say it just like that, and it, it does it, is so freaking valuable. And the only way I can get Google now to do this is if I have these certain addresses in my address book and I have the proper nickname set up, and there's only a certain selection of nicknames. So I can't say studio, I have to say work, and that has to be defined in my Google contact as my work address. And then I have to have home set to whatever RV campsite I'd feel like being at for the week. And then I have to go in there and change that whenever I do that, and that's home. And it's really weak. And then, at least, maybe because I'm a notification Nazi, but at least from the way I've been able to determine this, unless you have Android Wear, or you have, the only place I've seen the notification come up is in the Now cards. So then to see the reminder once you get to the location, you have to bring up the Now cards to begin with, which I don't get to the grocery store and the first thing I do is bring up Google Now. That's not what I do. So it doesn't work for me, whereas I get a push notification on the iPhone when I get to the location inside the geofence that I've defined. And that is such an incredibly valuable feature for me that it's just, because I can be like, oh yeah, next time I go over to Angela's house, I need to fix Gravity Falls for the kids. And I can just set that as a reminder on Sunday, and then when I go over there on Tuesday, I get reminded about it. It's brilliant. That kind of stuff, that kind of basic practical functionality, or send a message to Hadia and or my girlfriend, and all of that, just, it works, like it figures all that out. That natural stuff is super cool. I don't know. So I feel like it's not as uncompetitive. It just depends on what you use it for. Like if you're looking for raw information about like when a restaurant is open or what its reviews are, you're going to generally get there better with Google Now. The other thing Google Now is going to more often do is have an answer without having to say, let me check the web. It doesn't, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, and so that's exactly the problem I have with Siri. It's always like, I'm going to Bing this or Google this for you.
Yeah. If you're doing more task oriented, literally more assistant oriented stuff, I think it might be better in some cases. If you're doing more web information stuff, that's usually when I go to the Google app.
So what's interesting is like we use these tools very differently. I don't use geofencing at all.
It'll change your life, man.
Really? So I will try it on Siri this coming week and see if. So how does it work?
Well, so for example, like you set up now in my contact, I think that's how I got the studio, but I don't remember if I said name this location the studio, or I don't remember how I initially defined it, because I did it when they first added Siri, and it's just stuck ever since. So it's been so long now that I don't remember how I said it, but it's brilliant because I believe you can go to a location like a grocery store and say, remind me next time I return here, and then it's in the system. So play with that functionality. So that way, like say you're leaving to go home and you're like, oh crap, when I come back tomorrow, try it. Say, next time I return to this location, remind me to flush the toilet. And then you'll see next time, you'll completely have forgotten about it. And then you return to that location, it's like, hey, don't forget you got that huge deuce in the toilet. Like, oh, thanks, Siri. I know, we should probably get off this, but I find it to be very useful, and I would like to see Google do a better job at that. And if I could have Google Homes at multiple locations, then the two things that would really solve it for me would be the studio and where I live. And if I could have devices in both locations that work together, that'd be amazing. I digress. Do you want to talk about actions before we get off to Google Home?
I do want to talk about actions, yeah.
All right.
So Google has opened up the Google Assistant API technology, machine learning, buzzwords, big data, analytics.
Seems good, though. Is it really? Is it like opened up, or is it like opened up to certain people?
No, it appears to be opened up. You can just go ahead and try to do something.
Cool. Conversation actions on the... Introduction to Conversation Actions.
Okay, Google,
Hi.
what's the temperature like at Mount Everest?
The temperature there is minus 14.
Ooh, I better pack a jacket. Oh, hi, I'm Wayne Pekarsky, and today I'm going to talk about the Google Assistant.
Well, that's just
and how
garbage.
you can develop your own
Yeah.
action.
So is that about the speed? Is that about an accurate?
Yeah, that's a fair representation.
So it looks like they're pretty simple, really. You have an invocation trigger, and then you can generate a dialogue output, and you can process dialogue input.
Yep. So from a development perspective, there's two interesting things going on here. One, it like every other bot platform, and I am going to lump this stuff in with bots because it's getting hard to like distinguish between a bot, a virtual assistant, an AI platform. Can we just agree to call them bots?
I think. I don't know,
Right.
because Microsoft wants to call it AI too.
Well, Microsoft wants to like say it's a bot if it's text, it's AI
Yes.
if it's verbal.
Yes, they want to. Yes, they want to differentiate. That's a good way to put it.
But I don't understand why you wouldn't have both interfaces.
Right, because they're both just in the UI.
Right. It's two interaction methods. This is, the SDK is a Node.js JavaScript SDK because JavaScript is eating the world and is the lingua franca of the world now. Everything has to be written in JavaScript. And I'm not even hating. The BotKit thing I like is in JavaScript.
Inappropriate?
No, not at all.
I don't believe you.
But this is where things get a little interesting. Google has purchased API.AI.
What?
API.AI. Yeah, they somehow got a .ai domain name, which I find
Yeah, I'm
incredible.
seeing that. Holy smokes! Look at them go. API.ai.
Now,
Whew.
this is a proprietary tool that you have to pay for, but it seems like it kind of kickstarts your Google Action development. I have lots of things to say about Google being in this space.
Jeez, they're really going all in, dude.
Right, they're going to win.
Do you see their two pricing models? They have $0, which has no query limit, no bandwidth limits, private agents, and a data usage by API AI. And then they have the preferred plan, which has flexible queries, flexible bandwidth, and optional speech recognition, optional data usage. And the price is let's talk.
Well, and here's the other thing about this. You don't have to use API.ai. You could just use the Node.js SDK and spin up a Linux server on DigitalOcean for $5 a month.
Yep.
Which is probably what I would do. But they are, if this is the next, arena, right? The next platform, the next user interface model that we've all been looking for and we all wanted wearables to be, Google has such a far head start on everybody else, with the one exception of Microsoft. But I don't know, Microsoft's doing great things, but they can't seem to capitalize on any of it.
Yeah, and the thing is I don't really know anyone else. I mean, there's probably somebody else out there in the private industry, but I don't know anybody else in the public sector like this that is utilizing the core functionality at the center of so many of their products. Like every modern Google device, from televisions to watches and everything in between, has Google Speech recognition built into it, so you can OK Googs anytime you want. They're collecting so much intention data. They're collecting so much voice recognition data. They're collecting so much social data. And the thing is, it's core to their business. They die without it. So they seem like they would be naturally the most aggressive, the most ahead, and the most invested in this space. Like Microsoft, it's like Microsoft's all in on Azure too, to a degree. They're also all in on all the other things they do.
Yeah, this is another case. So the Microsoft bot framework, which we've talked about several times on the show, is very good. I like it a lot. I think it's it was one of the earlier entrants by one of the big proprietary tech companies, but they just can't get traction. I mean, it's kind of amazing. They're releasing the Microsoft Home Hub or whatever they're going to call it, and I mean that thing is going to be DOA. No one's going to buy it. I mean, barely anyone bought the Google Home, but no one's going to buy that.
Slow. They're too slow.
Yeah, Apple, but they were first. See, that's the thing. They were first with the SDK for developers. Mm-hmm. They integrated with Slack, who they then decided to compete with. And Slack sent them a really stupid open letter in the New York Times.
Yeah.
Immature people from California. I really don't like that Valley thing. It bothers me. Chris, it is blowing my mind because I still remember the days when if Microsoft got into your space, get that bankruptcy filing ready to go.
Oh yeah, either get bought by Microsoft or you get pushed out
to them, or you just file.
That's right. Oh yeah,
and
that's
now
right.
they had it. They were basically first, right?
Yeah.
And Google is so late with opening this up to developers, but the whole news. The entire news cycle was just boom, Google Actions open to developers.
Well, a lot of people were waiting. It's sort of like a lot of people were waiting for the Apple Watch, not to bring it back to wearables again, but a lot of people were waiting to buy into the market until Apple shipped a watch. A lot of people are waiting for Google because people know Google's going to be the leader in this area most likely if you're going to bet on somebody. Although Amazon also I think shouldn't be undersold. There's a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, Amazon has had a lot of credit and a lot of actually good work, and
I would actually not be too surprised if Apple doesn't come out with something in 2017 that people didn't see coming in this area. I just heard about a talk that some Apple employees were at that suggests they are taking this stuff very seriously.
Apple, it just feels a day late and a dollar short. Apple, how could they do this and maintain their stance on privacy, right? And encrypting the data locally.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Every iPhone 6S and beyond, you can just shout out from across the room. It's the same thing. Same with the watch. You can shout out the watch and iPads right now.
I get that, right? But part of what makes the Google system so good is that it saves all this crap based on your Google account.
Yeah, but what was that bogus scientific method they talked about using where they could, still collect data but average it out and include a bunch of bogus stuff?
You mean like basically voodoo?
Yeah, well, I can't remember. They had a great name for it, though.
Differential privacy.
That's what it was. Differential privacy. Isn't that a classic? Which has got some legit science behind it. I don't mean to be, such a
I'm not sure that's bogus, but here's the problem. If it's bogus, okay. If it's not bogus, then that is a material disadvantage.
Yeah, and the other thing is, what's not bogus is actually just collecting all of the user data and just looking right at it raw dog style like Googs does. And that's
Google's like,
that is not bogus.
Google's like, yeah, we store this data.
I think Apple can do it, though. If they can do Siri today, I think they could still do it. You don't have to make it crazy great if you just make... What if they just extended the Siri stuff they introduced in iOS 10, a whole new level for this device?
I'm getting no RFPs, no calls, no interest in adding Siri integration to anything.
Yeah, I can't even think of any. Yeah.
And apparently Google uses some form of differential privacy too.
Oh, and so does Microsoft. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that feels like it means something, and it definitely does. But I wonder, if they all mean the same thing. Because what I've heard is that Apple's implementation is far more privacy conscious than Google's. But take that for what it's worth.
Microsoft wrote a paper that we linked to eras ago.
Well, here's the thing: Microsoft does the R&D. They do the first dev kit, and then Google's going to come in and take the whole market. Because they have 80% of the smartphone market that has these babies already in them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they got the set-top box market.
And they have, and listen, Google doesn't give a crap. They'll give you the home, right? I'm sure they're waiting for Christmas. Oh, Google Home's $50, right? Can you imagine them? They'll cut the price.
Oh yeah, that's going to be it's going to be cheap. Yeah.
You're going to be giving these to your nephews.
Although I honestly thought the Alexa would be down a lot more too, because that's just a shopping machine.
Yeah, why they're not mailing every Prime subscriber an Alexa?
See, this is the thing.
Me.
Alexa is the one that makes the most sense to me. Alexa seems like the best case scenario because at the end of the day, not only does it not have the strategy tax that the Home would have, but you can still use it to get stuff off of Amazon, which is at least semi-useful. There seems to be a real purpose to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Amazon's really good at getting that impulse buy out of you, right? Hey, Alexa, get me a order of toilet paper. Or, I mean, hopefully that's not an impulse buy.
Otherwise, you could be in a really shitty situation. I'm just saying, you're getting me closer to thinking it's a more viable market. I think what I want to see is, do developers actually take to actions like they haven't taken to Siri, whatever. I'm sorry I'm blowing the Siri thing. It's so underwhelming. I can't even. I know there's a few apps like I know I could actually start my podcast and stuff using it, but I just. That's not what I've been, because Siri doesn't do much. I've trained myself to use Siri for a range of things that it works really well, that I think in some cases are more valuable to me than other functionality. But I am beginning to get the sense that perhaps this is a market I should take more seriously.
Well, see, here's the thing. Someone is going to have to take the risk and open this up pretty wide to developers. And some developers are going to do horrible things. I mean, that's just the way it goes, right?
I really hope they make this work, because I wouldn't mind a product that's genuinely good, especially if they can get the privacy stuff figured out. This would be very useful. And as far as a product that could generate revenue, this has to be something that would be unlike anything they've ever shipped, because it's got really no user interactive parts that people have to mess with. Everything is cloud-based. All the software they can push to it over the internet. It's got an always-on connection. They're in two-way communication with the thing. It is the ideal Internet of Things type device. It is Internet of Things in a way that is actually sustainable for the company to maintain and get patched, because it doesn't have to have an LCD screen one day for you to be able to continue to talk to it, and it doesn't have to have a brand new speaker for it to be able to understand something 6 months from now that it couldn't understand today. It's genius in how they could continue to monetize this thing for years if they can figure this market out, and it would be a shame if they blow it, because I would love to see whoever it is, and I'm starting to think maybe it's Alexa more than the Home, but whoever it is, I would love to see him pull it off, Mike, because damn, I would just really, really appreciate a device that genuinely made my life a little more organized. That would be great for me.
Let's see what happens.
Time is tight, and when time is tight, check out our next sponsor, and that's DigitalOcean, a great quick way to spin up some serious infrastructure on demand. In less than 55 seconds, you can have a rig that's ready to go. All of their systems are backed with SSD drives, so everything's nice and fast. SSDs really make a big difference. It's not just like, oh, it makes it fast for serving web pages. I mean, that's pretty nice too, but caching can take care of that. No, it's just nice working with the system, setting it up, updating packages, all of it. And they got 40 gigabit E-connections into the hypervisor, so you're really working with some serious bandwidth. In fact, check out their pricing. It's so phenomenal. You get it with all of their pricing plans. You get their really straightforward API. You get the lightning fast network, highly available block storage, which you can attach up to 16 terabytes to a droplet. You can work with teams, you'd get deployed in seconds, and look at the pricing. It's really phenomenal. I like messing around with the hourly pricing too if you're using DigitalOcean for learning, testing, or prototyping, or temporarily scaling. I was talking to Alan last week, and I think he said they're spinning something up like, did he say 20 droplets just for one weekend event? They spin them up for a few hours, they scale out, and they can bolt it on like infrastructure. You can use their API to make that really simple and straightforward. And they have the best interface to manage these systems. You can pick all of the great distributions or FreeBSD. And they got data centers in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, London, Toronto, and Germany. It's my go-to place whenever I need a computer, even for something simple like trying out a package. If it's something where I need a command line and I don't need a full graphical interface, I always go to DigitalOcean. And if it's something that requires an X interface, I still have run it on DigitalOcean. I love SSH X1140. DigitalOcean.com. Use our promo code CODERDIGITAL to get a $10 credit and try it out for a little while. Like you play with that 3 cents an hour rig, you could really make some serious progress and try out something brand new, or supplement your website, or do a prototype or a demo for a client. It's a really nice system. And then later on, if you build something for somebody, the pricing is so nice that you could either just work it into the monthly billing to them, just sort of resell, or honestly just transfer it to them. So here you go. I'm going to pay $5 a month. DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. You just sign up and apply it to your account. DigitalOcean.com. They also have a tutorial up on their website right now that would work for anybody. You don't even have to be a DigitalOcean customer, but it's setting up real-time performance monitoring with net data on Ubuntu 16.04. I found a really cool, I'm going to call it a Chris pick. It's not like an official, like I've kicked the tires a lot, and I'm going to come here and tell you this has changed my workflow and my life. But it could be really cool for those of us that just want a simpler way to manage Docker containers across multiple hosts, which can get hairy fast for me. When I was messing around with Docker, I didn't really appreciate this until I got in too far. And so Docker Swarm's fine, not really. And Kubernetes is pretty complicated. really for what I want. Pi Cluster. You can run an image on a Raspberry Pi, and it'll only run and build images from Docker files on host specified with the config file. So you can use the Raspberry Pi to manage it, but then run the containers on x86 hardware, not related to ARM at all. And it comes up with a nice little GUI here. You can run commands in parallel across nodes. It has heartbeat services. You can easily build and orchestrate Docker images across the nodes. It, of course, has a command line interface, but the thing I thought was pretty cool is it's got a web interface as well as an HTTP interface and a virtual IP manager. You got to have Node.js though.
Docker, Raspberry Pi. That's just way too much cool in one thing.
I know, and it's super cool to take like a little $30 Raspberry Pi or whatever it is, $100, and manage a whole set of Docker containers across a bunch of powerful x86 servers. It is Node.js, your favorite, so there's that.
I spend a lot of time running Node.js these days.
I noticed.
Everything is basically done in JavaScript now.
So there was that rumor at the beginning of the show that Mike's hiring, and he's got a link. I mean, somebody leaked a link, probably Edward Snowden, in the show notes. So if you're curious about that.
It was the Russians.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. And fake news, too. Only it's real news. It's the real news telling you about fake news on this week's episode of Coder Radio. You can find that link for the position that Mike's hiring for in the show notes as well.
Yes, you can. And there is a PHP and ASP variety of it as well that I did not put the link in for. But that's, well, Chris, it has been wonderful.
Yeah. What, the hiring or just dealing with PHP?
Just being with you.
I mean, today's episode's been wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being nice to you.
Thanks, man. That's unusual. Usually I know we're wrapping up because you give me a hard time about something, then I know it's my cue to get going here. That's
I'm gonna be nice today.
Computer, this isn't what I wanted at all.
I get used to something. I get used to something. All right, thank you. All right. You can also find a link to Pi Cluster in the show notes. Just look for episode 235 at jupiterbroadcasting.com. You can send us an email at jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. And you can submit content and comment at coderradio.reddit.com. Don't forget, we're live on Mondays. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to find us. Mike, do you want to give the good peeps a place to find you on the internet throughout the week?
If you go to buccaneer.io, there may be a deal on taking a look at Google Actions.
What? There you go. That's a great one. And you can follow me. I'm at Chris LAS. Find the network at Jupiter Signal. And we'll see you right back here next Monday.